Mapping well tops in Transform. To launch the mapping workflow in Transform, you'd press this icon on the top right hand side. Kind of looks like a Rubik's Cube. And now you can see we have this panel that opens up on the right. So the first tab that we're going to look at is the Input tab. So we're going to choose well tops. We'll then press Add. And now it wants us to select the source data. So we will press Select. And you can see there's well top aliases as well as well tops. We're going to stick with the well top aliases. And you can see here that we have the interpreter as well as the count, and we can sort by anything in Transform. So we can sort by the highest count. We can also sort by the well top name. I'm going to choose Wolfcamp A because we have a lot of data points here. I'll press OK. Now at the bottom here, you'll notice that it says Live. Now I don't have the Live button clicked on, but if I did, it would populate right away. But the reason we have this is if we want to set up some additional restrictions, we can do that before we press Apply. So it's not thinking. We can have it think when we're ready for it to do that. So we can narrow it down by well list. I'm just going to choose all wells, but if you would like, you can narrow it down by the well list. We can also restrict the data numerically if we wanted to only look at deeper Wolfcamp A's. So if we wanted to look deeper in the basin, we can definitely use these slider bars. This first button here lets you select all the data or select none of the data. We'll select all. We can also highlight within this table. And one of my rules I always like to say is when in doubt, right click. So we can highlight that, right click, and then we have more options such as creating well lists from checked items. We can deselect the highlighted rows or check them. We can also show these in log view. So I'm going to leave them all on. Now this next button here allows us to toggle between MD and TVD. So I'm just going to actually apply right now so we can see the data. If we want to switch to MD, we can see that we're going to have these change. We can press Apply and we can actually see how our grid changes. But let's go back to TVD sub C. The next button here is to display as elevation rather than TVD sub C. What this does is it actually just multiplies everything by -1. So if you look at just this top row here, we can see that value change. So this could be useful if you imported something. I know certain softwares will have the elevations rather than the TVD sub C. So we can change that, but I'm going to go back here. This next button allows us to see the data as a histogram. So, we can see all our values. And, just say if we only wanted to look at deeper values, we can highlight these and apply this selection. And then we can see that change. I'm going to move my slider bar back and display all the data again. This next button here is it automatically runs an outlier analysis for you. So if you the tops are probably in this case we know they're fine because we're in the play assessments, but if we perhaps had some bad data points, it would apply outlier analysis for us and just remove those points. So we can exclude those, dismiss, and then we can see how that changes again. Let's move down here now to our table. So once again, we can sort by values. So we can see the data we removed, they're actually highlighted in blue. But just say if we didn't like these negative ones for some reason, we can click on those, uncheck, then apply. So it's very easy to find outliers in Transform. That's one thing I always like to say about Transform. It's a great software for QCing. But let's once again use all the data. So the next few buttons down at the bottom, this first one allows you to see all your source points. So if I zoom in here, I can see all the data that I'm using. And I can actually click on these guys and they'll highlight in the table, and I can unclick them. So this is really good for bullseyes. If you see bullseyes, you can remove those. This next button will allow you to see the data in a 3D scene. So I'll just open a 3D scene here just to show you. And I'm going to move this by grabbing the blue up top and pinning it to the side. And now if I press this button, and let's just close that so we have more room. If I press this button, we can see the data in the 3D scene. So that's also a very good QC tool. You can see outliers a lot easier this way as well. So I'm going to close this for now. Our next button here would be the no trim. Now if we had a region created, we can trim to that data. So I'll just pick Sam here, or let's pick let's pick the Delaware. That's a shapefile that was created, and we can see that it trims it to that. So I'll go back from no trim, which is all the data. We can see that. But now if I want to trim to a specific region, like the Delaware Basin, we'll press apply, and you can see that we'll trim to that. This next button here is the layer style page. Now you can access this two ways, right here, or we can also click on the temporary mapping, right click, and click style. But let's go with the layer style page. So here we can choose our color bars if we'd like to see a different color bar. Let's pick that one for now. We can change the range of the color bar. I'm going to go back to mine though, because I don't like this one that much. Okay. One thing I always like to do is I like to get rid of the grid. I don't like seeing that grid on there, so I'm going to take that off. So that's why you would do that. Now, one of the features I really like is actually this clip range feature. So I'm going to go clip range. So if we only want to see maybe deeper parts of the Delaware, you know, we can move our slider bar, and you can see that it cuts out that data. This is also good for isopacks or net pay maps. I'm also going to reverse this so we can see now that the deeper portions are in dark colors. We can also apply contours here. So we would click on the show contours, click on the contour settings, and here we have all of our options for the contours. So this is automatic, but if you'd like to do custom ones, you would click this off, and then, I don't know, maybe change this to 500. We'll bold every 2, and we'll label every 1. And I'm going to go update, and we can see how that changed. Now, I also like to change these to about, I don't know, 30, depends how I'm zoomed in, 35, and I like to put this about 250,000. Update. And we can't, if I was to zoom in, we could see the text type, but maybe let's change that to 7,000. So we can see those come in a little bit, but I'll zoom in to show you. So that's kind of the style page, and you can reach that through here. So zooming in, we can see the contours. Now there's two other tabs here. We have the algorithms, and I'm going to go over this in another video, but currently I have interpolation chosen, but we can see all the different options we have. And then there's sub options beneath that. So I'm going to pick minimum curvature, and we're going to apply, and we can see how that changed. We also have this new feature, which I find is really good, especially working with isopacks. We can restrict our values by clipping them or limiting them. So clipping them, it just cuts it off. Limiting it, it will reach that limit. So if we were to put, 0 here and limit it, it will, anything that's negative it will force it to 0. And our last option that we have is the grid. So it creates an automatic grid using the extent of the data. But in another video that I had earlier, I actually created a grid, and let's just use that now. So we can you know, choose any one of our grids here, or I can't remember what I called it. Where did I call it? There we go. We can also search for the grid name at the bottom. So we'll just look at grid 1. We'll press apply. And now we can see that it's limited to this grid. This can be really helpful if you wanted to change your cell size, because the automatic cell size we can see here is about is quite a bit larger than the grid cell size. So that is mapping well tops, a summary of well tops. We have some additional videos showing logs and attributes. And there's one little thing I forgot here. If we want to actually save this grid, we can press create. We can name our grid. Whoops. We're going to save it as a horizon surface and put that under WolfCamp A and press create. Thank you very much.